here. Very aggressive interference. When she bites, touch the canine, and the mandible slide back a little bit. But as she's not having cuspid in fossa, she compressed the joint 1 or 2 millimeters, which is enough to lose the disc. Is enough to lose the disc. Plus a little bit back mandible, that's it. So I need to simulate to her a new position. Okay? Adjust her mandible in vertical dimension according to the SCI. And now you have here what? This gap. So what is the meaning of this gap? This is the amount that I need to adjust her vertical dimension. So I need to fulfill this gap with anything you want. If you're going to use brackets and wires, okay, but it's not super precise. Okay? What do I need to be super precise? Is to put a temporary prosthodontics to her. If I put an overlay here, I will exactly match with her needs. Okay? Exactly match. So I can combine prosthodontics and orthodontics to deliver to her this dimension that she needs to stop the click. And I bond here the overlay, and I make her now an utility arch to help me to extrude and maintain the position that overlay is dictating. After that, I can stop by on bicuspids a new overlay to maintain the anteroposterior position of the mandible in a second moment. And now, no more click. And she can open and close free. So if I don't have this instrument, if I don't have this concept, how can I treat this patient? Do you understand? Everything was so good. Skeletally speaking, x-rays, her smile, occlusion, very stable over the years, but in a long range, she lost her vertical dimension. And I need to regain her vertical dimension. So, you can mount her case as many times as you want to refine, and this is her finishing stage. So it's just a matter now to put the molars here, because now bicuspid is holding her, and I remove the posterior overlay. So once you stabilize the position, now the bicuspids can maintain, and the molars you hold until the second molar comes down. You can check this with waxes if she's touching, and you can little by little check her if she can open straight or not. So she's improving, and now she's a happy lady again. I didn't change her aesthetically. She's absolutely the same. So what did I introduce to her is a new vertical posterior dimension. Okay, it was necessary to recast the disc. Another case, pretty similar. Okay, we have a little bit extra exposure of the incisors and very dramatic different vertical dimensions left and right side. So this kind of case is very difficult to treat only orthodontically, because how can I reposition the mandible in such a case? I can put a mini screw here and raise all the upper jaw up, but is it enough to get the disc back? So these questions are important for us to go home and analyze. So here is the same thing, different vertical dimensions. You can see her deviation, not so aggressive, but the deep bite. So the facial axis pretty okay, but she's convex. Lower facial height is short, So I need the overlays. So once I put the overlays, it's not a resinoma, okay? It's an overlay calculated exactly to protect her joints. It's not a piece of composite anyway, okay? So after that, we can align, and I can run my multi-loop wires. This is made by the metal, but it can be eudiloy, it doesn't matter. And I can refine her situation and check if I'm doing good. Check the overall. And from inside, which is the aspect that we should analyze occlusion. Okay? Occlusion must be observed from inside, not from outside. Outside means absolutely nothing. Okay? Occlusion is cuspid fossa. I can only see cuspid fossa from inside. This is why I usually need to mount. Otherwise I cannot see this relation. And here I build up a new overlay for her. Reconstruct her vertical dimension a second time. And now she was adapting when I place. This is the day I place. And after that, I made my wires to extrude the posterior dentition. I stopped the mandible with the anterior bicuspid overlay. And after I put the molars in position, the molars are coming here. I can remove her brackets and finish like this. So after that, I can check her before, after. So the planes are very parallel. Very good. And I fix her vertical dimension very close to 46. Reduce the convexity into 2. Okay? So I achieve my goals in my treatment. And more than that, this is a follow-up of her. Now, about, if I'm not wrong, 2 years after. This is the sequence of mandibular repositioning. In her face, with much better smile, but more than everything is her health, joint, and health system. Okay? This, her mandible certainly forward, if you can see before after. This is a colleague, is a dentist, my student in Brazil. He came to my courses and he say, I usually ask, who here has a TND? He was the first one. He came to me and he said, oh Nelson, I have a very big problem on my joint and I need someone to help me. And this is his smile. You can see the midline very off. Okay? And you can look here, many bad signals of overload. So when you get patients a little bit aged, okay, you see more problems. Abstractions, fractures, overlays, okay, veneers, root canal, implant, okay? This is normal. So veneers, look at these big restorations he had in the cervical lesions here, here, fracture lines here, and here, and here. So this is all signals of overload. His system is totally stressed. Okay? Totally stressed. You can see that how her restoration is very shiny because he brux. It's a super brux. Okay? When I make his muscle palpation, I recognize that temporalis are very painful. Medial temporalis are sensitive more on his left side. Deep masseter sensitive, both sides. Medial pterygoidal, very painful. Mylohyoidal, very painful. Digastric, very painful. And his joint on the right side, very sensitive in the left as well. What does this mean? That the system is totally collapsed. Okay? We need to find a new position for the mandible where calm down the muscles and relieve his pain. Okay? So now his frontal X-ray, and you can see his planes are totally asymmetric, and you can see many adaptations of the system here. Inclination of incisors, the chins to the side. You can see the septum and nasal cavity tipping. Vertical dimension left and right, totally different. And this condyle is immediately displaced, shocking against the internal portion of the joint, causing here a trauma. And the other side certainly is the opposite way. If the condyle, this side goes inside, the other one certainly go outside. Okay? When I take CBCT, I can see that the condyle is resorbing in here. So her cortical bone is disappearing in this area here. His cortical bone is disappearing in this area here. And it's very bad because the condyle is being compressed immediately. Okay. And you can see from this side as well. The other side is okay. Panoramic, I can clearly see the different inclination of the joints. Different inclination of the posterior dimension, the molars. And I can see his joint in super trouble here and here. Erosion in both joints. So, what can we do to help our colleague? What can we do? So I mount him in axis orbital plane, which is those little balls here, these pins. I recognize that he needs a little bit of vertical dimension. When I mount him and trace, I can see certain very interesting things. When I ask him to open his mouth, this is the movement that he does. It's very interesting. To protrude, he opens his mouth. He cannot protrude straight. He can only open and protrude. Why this is happening? Because the incisors are so big interference, that he avoids that contact. So it's an unconscious movement. So if I ask the patient with a severe interference on incisors to protrude, he will certainly open before protrude. And I mount his case with the same reference plane, and I can see that the deviation of the joint is about 0.5 millimeter to the center. This is what causing him a compression. Okay? His lines are exactly the same. When I compress the joint, it exaggerates a little bit more to 1 millimeter his compression to the joint on the medial portion of the right joint. So after that, I mount his case with 6 millimeter of pin to get me 45 degrees of lower facial height. And I simulate with the VTO. I place the mandible in the position that I desire 46, and I can see that I certainly need for him a big change on the vertical dimension. So this is the molar time 1. This is the VTO molar in black. So this distance, I need to raise his posterior vertical dimension. After that, I simulate on the articulator this new position, and you can see here this gap must be reconstructed. Okay? Can I do this with orthodontics only? Certainly not. Certainly not. I definitely need prosthodontics. Okay? So, but I was very curious. I was very curious to understand why his mandible was shifting immediately on the y-axis. Okay, on the y-axis. So I play with the articulator. So you can simulate that contact here as well. So you can see that he's only touching this bicuspid. And this bicuspid makes his condyle goes against the eminence. Goes against the internal portion of the joint. So if you play on the y-axis, you can see where is the interference. If he bond the simple brackets here, this is easily be treated. But to fix his vertical dimension, I need prosto. So simple orthodontic treatment for him is more than okay. But later on, prostodontic rehabilitation. So prosto, ortho must walk together. So with this articulator, I can play on the y-axis on tenths of millimeter. And I create and simulate to him a splint, therapeutic splint, for exactly the position that I planned. After that, I ask him to take new x-rays using this splint. And you can see that his face dramatically changed. Just he put the splint. And you can see the vertical dimension that the splint is creating for him. And the joint can vertically displace down to a new position. And if I trace his case again, I reach the 46, 47 degree, exactly my forecast VTO. Okay? And now I reduce his convexity to 0.3. And this is my plan. Okay? This is before the splint, and this is the patient with the splint. And now I take a new frontal X-ray with the splint, and now the condyle is centered exactly in the position that I want. So this is my test drive. My splint is just to test drive my plan. So before, this is after, and this is before after. And you can see clinically, evidentially, how his face changed and his posture changed dramatically with the splint in position. Okay? So it's not only about the joint. It's about his posture, his neck, his shoulder, his everything. Okay? And now you can see from the side a new head posture and a new, completely new mandible displacement. This is the before after, and you can see his wrinkles disappear in here. Even his wrinkles disappear because we gave him a new vertical dimension. Okay? You don't need Botox, sometimes you need just a new vertical dimension. So, class 2 has a strong commitment with the TMDs. And your patients now are more and more class 2s. So the appearance of class 2s in the office is increasing a lot. So certainly your TMD cases will also increase. It's automatically connected. If class 2s is raising, TMD is going to raise as well. You need to be prepared to treat these patients. Okay? Because there's a connection between the CMS, the TMJs, muscles, neuromuscular system, and occlusion and articulation. So this is completely connected. We cannot do anything. So when I created to go was to do exactly what the splint did for this previous patient, but fixed. Okay, fixed. The splint will remove to eat. The splint will remove anything. But with the overlays is that splint fixed. Okay, it's the same concept. Everything, every information is in the splint. It's also in the overlay. So it's the same thing. So I designed this system together to my colleagues. Dr. Ovando, he will be with us in November here in Hanoi to my to-go courses. I will start to teach to-go for Hanoi students because I love Hanoi. Okay? And I will start here first, and I will bring Dr. Ovando and Miguel and Alejandra in the future, certainly, because he's prosthodontist. So I want to combine prosto, ortho, and Miguel and Alejandra, they are orthodontists. So I think it's better to bring the prosto guy, and we can make this very nice course for either prosto and orthodontist, so both specialists. So we need to know the sagittal-condylar inclination. For example, this is a sagittal-condylar inclination of 44 degrees, and this is sagittal-condylar inclination 29 degrees. So where should I put my vertical dimension? where should I put the condyle? Okay? If I do, just a very quick, very simple explanation. If I put the condyle under or below the curve, I decompress the joint. If I put the condyle on top of the curve, I compress the joint. So I don't want to compress. Okay? I can do two options. On top of the curve or decompress. Okay? So, if I don't know the inclination, how can I calculate? It's so hard. For example, if I move the articulator 2 millimeters forward and 2 millimeters down in a regular 44 SCI, you have zero compression. You are on top of the curve. But if you do 2 millimeters forward, it's 1 millimeter. 1 millimeter forward, 1 millimeter down in a 29 degrees, you are decompressing the joint. It's the same movement on the articulator, but the result on the joint is completely different. Okay, it's completely different. If I do 2 forward and 2 down, in this guy, I still on top of the curve. So there's no decompression, there's no compression. But here, I am doing a lot, almost 1 millimeter of decompression. The distraction can be for a young kid a problem. So we need to test this carefully. Okay? So to be precise, certainly we need to understand the SCI. If the SCI is 44, now I put 2 and 2, I will compress the joint. Okay? If it's 29, I will be exactly on the curve. So the same activation, but different SCIs. Just to give you a very idea and how these things work. So there is no magic formula to calculate the therapeutic position. You need to use everything you have to your diagnostic. Okay? So, because RP can be absolutely anywhere. Sorry, TP is absolutely anywhere, and it comes from RP. So from RP, I can put the condyle anywhere I want. I can put forward, down, to the side, to the right, up, to the front, anyway. I can rotate, I can procline, I can extrude, I can do anything I want. As soon as I know RP, then I know my SCI. So some cases demo, for example, extreme low angle case like this. I will show some before afters very quick because I don't have much time. So you guys can see, okay? So look at this guy. He came from another office to me, transferred. And this guy is 15 years old, but he looks like 40 years old, okay? Because short faces, they show like an old face, okay? So this guy cannot show his incisors very well, or it will be worse, he has 2 missing laterals to complicate my life a little bit. Here, his situation at the moment he arrived in my office. This is the Cedros canine. The doctor who transferred to me bonded some brackets, but that's it. And he told me, no, so I'm going to send you a case, very easy, just do a little bit here and there, that's it. This is definitely not easy, okay? So I had to sit together to the family and say, do you want to change the plan? Do you want to make good things for him? So, missing laterals, the deciduous canine, and his debite and very deep speed curve. Very, very deep speed curve. But his upper incisor is behind the lip. So I cannot treat this deep overbite by playing with incisors, because his smile is already bad. If I include incisors here, it's going to be terrible for his smile. It's going to be very bad for his face. I need another solution. And I start with the gill, give him some vertical dimension, okay? Just to align, just to move, starting here. And after I align and adjust a little bit the tipping and adjust the speed curve, I can now definitely bond my overlays, my two goals. So I put one to go here, one to go here, one to go here, another to go here. And I have now what? A new mandibular position. And for now, the orthodontics becomes super easy because it's just a matter to put the teeth together. That's it. Okay? So with the utilities, I can help to control the molars. After that, I can start to retract his canine. And I put here some fake laterals to him because I start to open the space for future implants. Okay? And this is the situation he is at my office right now. He's about to remove his brackets. You see that I ground up all the posterior overlays, and I still have a little on bicuspids. As soon as the molar really settle, I can remove. In his face now, it's completely different new vertical dimension. It's totally new face frame. He's still brachy, of course. I cannot change a super low angle case in a meso, but much better. Okay, that's the idea. Okay, and now he's mine. He's super shy. This guy is very shy. And opening the spaces, I just need a little bit more here in his canine, and that's it. And look at his new condition. The before and after, so the occlusal plane is straight, is better aligned, but I didn't change his vertical anterior dimension. I changed the posterior condition. So we changed from here to here. And he looks younger now, in fact, but he's 2 years older. Okay, he's 18 in his profile. Really much better. Okay? So, another case, now adult, with a big crowding, some cross bites. The speed curve is also steep, not so bad as before, the previous one. When he smile at the end, when I remove his brackets, with the same concept, okay? You can finish like this. And deliver him the appropriate guidances to maintain that situation that you create. So the after X-ray. So I didn't change much inside this. All the changes that I induced was in the posterior area. This is the before and after. You can see the upright of these molars in the new vertical dimension that I create. Okay, so his panoramic before. Another before-after with a very loud clicking patient as well, with a periodontal overload. Similar to the case I show you with the little girl, with a beautiful smile, but here you see the patient's older, of course. You can see now the periodontal is already starting to suffer bone losses. Okay, because the system is locked. Every time she go brux, there are many interferences on the system. Okay, so we need to release this condition for her to function appropriately. So I create the overlays again, second molar and here in bicuspids to stabilize mandible rotation. And when I remove her brackets, she was really much better situation and no more click. And I left this one a little bit because she was still a little not so easy to maintain the mandible. So you can keep there until everything remodel. After that, you can remove and place the canine bicuspid separate in the next stage. Another case with extreme asymmetry. Extreme asymmetry. These cases are very important cases to treat. It's very hard to treat. And these kind of patients, they do not benefit a lot from surgery. That's the big problem. The surgeon can help to make him symmetrically, but the surgeon cannot decompress his joint. Okay? That's the real thing. And long range, the patient relapses the surgery. For few months, the surgery stay good. After 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, relapse. Not maybe everything, but relapse. So why? Because the surgery is not capable to decompress the joint. Because the surgeon cuts anterior here on the corpus. And there's nothing to do with the joint. So who is responsible to decompress the joint? The orthodontist and the prosthodontist. When you refer the case for surgery, the patient must be decompressed. And the surgeon just play sagittal. Make the life of the surgeon easy, please. Okay? And here, his situation, observe that his midline is matching. So not always asymmetry reflect on the midline. When you see asymmetry on the midline, means the mandible is shifting on the horizontal plane. But I can have asymmetry on the vertical. And the midline stays. Okay? So I need to adjust this case absolutely in a vertical dimension. But I cannot do this much in a while. Just a meow or meow, it's impossible to give to him this much of vertical dimension. So let me move quicker here. This is, I install here one side only overlay. Because this is his shorter side. Okay, little by little, he will tend to decompress the joint. But be careful to do not compress the other side. Remember, the mandible is a single bone. Two joints together. If I decompress here, the other side goes up. Okay? So you always need to compensate here as well. But in the very beginning, I didn't make. But he's under control. Okay? And his face now, he's still under treatment. But really much better. Really much better. And look at the height of the overlays we put. So little by little, the mandible can adjust and adapt in adult patient. This guy is 25, 24 years old. Okay? Adult case with very mesotypic teeth. Okay? Open bite tendency, with bad periodontal condition, class 2 open bite. And you can see here, the whole lower segment is mesotypic, including the canine is mesoinclined. And now, you can see here in her X-ray, the occlusal plane very steep on the posterior edge. So, very mesotypic. I cannot put overlays in this case because the mesotyping impede the overlay. So before place overlays, I need to do orthodontic treatment to upright the occlusal table of the molars to receive the overlay in the next step. And this is her case. After we upright, and you see how the mandible really adjusts forward. And this is the before Brooks checker. And you can see how she was bruxing on top of the posterior dentition, and there's no contact on the anterior teeth. Brooks checker is a wonderful tool for you guys to use and understand the mandible function during sleep. It's unconscious movement. The patient tells you where is the interference and where is the premature contacts. It's evident here. Okay? And after that, I run meow. I put eudilon on the lower and gammeta on the upper because Eudiloi is more effective to force control. And to be a little bit more comfortable for her, I put the gamete on the upper. And this is her after situation. Ready now for what? Now she's ready for overlays. Okay? So to place the overlay in such a case, I definitely need to upright. This is her before and after. And I check now on the articulator that her occlusal plane is super steep still because she has compressed joints. But now I will put the overlays because the lower occlusal plane is ready. Retrognatic mandible in an adult case. How can I move this mandible forward and maintain the mandible there? Okay, without surgery. It's the same concept. I start with the meow, multi-use, and I put her here overlays to re-guide the new mandible position. I have in mind SCI, okay? I'm not showing, but it's everything there, okay? So now she's in new position, and I can start to remove her brackets with a very new mandible position. Anterior disc displacement. This little girl came to my office with a locked joint. She couldn't open her mouth. So what should we do? We need to remove her interferences and treat the two different vertical dimensions, left and right. Okay, she couldn't open her left joint. So I make her condylography, everything as the way is possible. And you can see her MRI. The disc here is bent. Can you see the disc folded here? The disc is like this. So she cannot open. So how can I treat this problem? Delivering her vertical dimension. If I only move forward, I give nothing. And the funny thing, I start to treat her with the splints. I deliver her the first splint. After 15 days, his family called me, "Doctor, she's clicking. But she didn't have the click before. Is this a problem?" Of course not. If she's clicking, it's because the disc is getting bad. Thanks God, I'm doing good. So what should I do now? Raise more. Are you following? Hope so. And her tracing, completely different FCI left and right side. To start, because her joint is locked. And the computer gives me the configuration of the articulator to unlock her joint. Another case, class 3, super class 3. Can I treat without surgery and, let's say, create a decent result? Maybe not ideal, but decent? Yes. But here, I don't have vertical compensations on the posterior area. In a class 3, the objective is a little bit different. It's a compensation in the vertical anterior, which is just rotation. So I don't want to compress the joint. I just want to rotate. And rotate from where? The reference position. Because I know in that position there's no compression. So I can mount the case in RP and open the pin as much as I want. Okay? So after that, I construct my arch wires to extrude incisors to create to her a nice smile, because usually a class 3, high or low angle, doesn't matter. They don't show incisors very much. So to close the bite is very indicated to extrude the upper incisors to deliver her a good smile. But the mandible stopped here. How can I stop the mandible here with the overlays? And her face before, after. Okay, no surgery. And when I have a syndrome patients like this, first and second artial branches, I receive many cases like this. How can we do? What can we do for this kind of patient? So the first and second artial branch syndrome causes her a dramatic asymmetry because the condyle doesn't exist. She doesn't have condyle. She has a little, like a little bit what you can call a condyle, okay? But there's no really a condyle. But I need to decompress because remember that both sides are connected. So this one goes up, but that one, the other one goes down and in. So I need to balance her to preserve the other side, which there's non-problem. And prepare her for future surgery to replace her condyle. And this is the moment when she's grown. Okay? I test her bite many times. So I usually use silicone putty or lab silicone, which is very stiff, to test the new position that I am developing on the articulator. And I perform palpation, I check her joint, I check everything. And after that, I start to deliver to her the overlays. So at that moment here, I gave her overlays on top of the deciduous dentition. She was a mixed. Okay? After pandemic, she disappeared. And she got back to me. This is the overlay I placed. I should raise more, but she disappeared because of pandemic. And you see that the midline now is better. And she come back to me now with permanent dentition. This is about 5 months ago. And now I place another overlay to raise her vertical dimension only on her right side. And you can see she's really much better. And she starts to equilibrate little by little, even in a syndrome like this. So occlusal system, occlusion is the answer for everything. Occlusion is the answer for all your needs in your office. Okay? This is before, after 2 overlays. Okay? You can see the way she is now after adaptation to the overlays I cemented 5 months ago. So she is like this. Sometimes you're scared because you bond, the patient cannot close. Okay, right there. Give her a week. After 1 week, she can get. Okay? So don't scare. So understand the principle and understand the muscles and the ligaments will work for you. And of course, open the bite here because the condyle will adjust and the other side as well. So now she's ready for some brackets. And the girl I showed before, she didn't have space for the lateral incisors, asymmetry, mandible deviate. Now I can say really horizontal shift because I see the midline off. Okay? So now, let me move a little bit quicker. You can see the asymmetry, 2 borders, interference here. I trace her. She needs about 4 degrees of vertical dimension. And the way I mount her in therapeutic position, so you can see the open bite I create in the posterior area. Okay? So what should I do now? Is to fulfill the gap with something. Can be crowns, can be wire, extrusion, doesn't matter. Okay? I think it's easier if I put prosto. So I can test her bite. I was using futar at that time, but this material is a little bit expensive and very fractured. So I think silicone putty is cheaper and easier, okay? And more effective, honestly. So I can test her bite, and I move her mandible on the right side 1 millimeter, on the left side 4. And I test, put this in her mouth. She stayed this way for 5 minutes, and I check her muscles, ask her to open close several times. If I don't see a click, if I don't see problem, I'm going to use this as my final position. I build up overlays. Sorry, I am not very good dental technician. This is I did myself, because it's difficult to find a dental technician who understands the concept. It is ugly, but it's working, okay? So this is when I cement, and this is the good thing. When you cement, the patient goes exactly in the position that you want. So the patient leaves your office, class 1, symmetric. Immediately. Okay? And the family become, wow. All families love it. Because patient enter class 2, mandible shift. And painful. Patient leave mandible matching, class 1 and no pain. Magic. Okay? And overlays, frontal X-ray, absolutely matching, left and right side. In her X-ray, I trace. And the very first time, what really concerned me is the vertical dimension. I leave the convexity for next mounting. Okay? Sometimes you cannot do both simultaneously. So if you cannot do adjust the vertical first, in the next mounting, you adjust the position of the mandible. And here she is, before, after, before, after, before, after. And she came back to me, I follow up her. This is before, after. Her face, more symmetric, really much better. You can see how she matched the midline. And now, magically, she has space for the lateral incisors. She didn't have. So, I didn't place any expanders. I didn't place any appliance. Just 4 crowns. How is possible to open space if I didn't expand? Here's the concept. I take this picture because the midline is not matching, because the upper incisors are to the right. It's not because the mandible is wrong, but because the upper teeth are deviated to the other side. Okay? The mandible is good. So now, her smile, and the way she is now, absolutely, I took from Facebook. I spy my patients. I took them to me. Okay? So she's super beautiful girl. Now, how can I treat transversal discrepancies? Yeah, I am 3 minutes, right? The only way is changing the vertical dimension if you want to be stable. Because the forces of occlusion deliver a lot of pressure on the zygomatic area and helps to adjust the maxilla transversally, naturally. You don't need to really put expansion too much. Is it wrong if you expand? No, that's not wrong. You can expand, but certainly you need vertical control as well. Like Ricketts told us many years ago. So to finish, because I don't have time, I have more cases here, but I will jump. I will show you this little boy and finish. He's 3 years old. I usually start to see my patients with 3 years old because it's much easier. Okay? Then I have more chances if I fail. Okay? Very retrognatic, very short dimension. I understand the dimension should be short at 3, and I understand the patient should be retrognatic at 3, but not this much. Okay? So now, after I start to treat him, oh sorry, this is her first records, and his mandible super back, and you can see his condyle very backward and distal under compression. So what did I make for him? So short dimension, posterior vertical dimension is very small. 6 millimeters convexity is a lot, even for 3 years old patient. So what did I make? What can I do to raise his vertical dimension in the deciduous dentition? Overlay posterior and open his bite. So if you only touch the second deciduous molar, it creates a pivot to decompress the joint. Okay? And the same guy before and after. This is 1 month after. He closes itself. You don't need to make anything. The mandible rotates and closes. This is the day we install in 1 month after. So what's going on in the joint to close like this? Decompression. Decompression. Okay? And I make a new overlay for him to open his bite again. And I continuously decompress him. Okay? Every 6 months, every 8, 9 months. In his face now. At 4. Now he's 4 years old. So we can do great things for the kids. A lot. So simple pieces of acrylic make a big change in these kids. Okay? Conclusion of my talking. Change the growth pattern of your patient. Regard the mandible. Give the patient adequate vertical dimension. Okay? Put a class 2 to grow as a class 1. Put a class 3 to grow as a class 1. Okay? Understand this. In class 2 or 3, following these things are very important to achieve the successful result. Adjust the occlusal plane, adjust the occlusal support on posterior vertical dimension. Okay? Reposition the mandible. Give a good arch-wire coordination, especially deliver to the upper arch positive torus. Okay? Retrusive control, retrusive and intercuspation control. Provide functional freedom for the mandible protruding side to side. Never give negative torque on the upper arch because you block the mandible. Never deliver very retrocline canines, you block the mandible. Okay? Understand that ortho and prosto must be together. And dentistry is our profession. If you use prosto ortho, doesn't matter. Use what the patient needs. Okay? We cannot consider orthodontist and that's it. Okay? We need to be multidisciplinary. Thank you for my professors, for Ricketts, who told me many, many things. Thank you, Blavicek, who passed away about a year ago.